First, we wipe the surface clean with a microfiber cloth and some brake clean.
These are the blades we use, and we'll go through 2 or 3 of these for a whole turf job. You always want a sharp blade, so you know, so your cuts are nice and clean and you're not getting fraying edges and etc.
Then get a long straight edge and split the sheet evenly into 2 halves. You then use one strip for the outer rail on one side and the other for the other side. Take note in which way the grooves are facing so it matches along the ski. We use this style because it folds a lot easier and has a lot of grip for a lot of opposing angles on the ski rails. Now that you got your self-adhesive backing off, line it up on the ski, start at the front and work your way down, making sure to keep it nice and even. Take your time doing this. Sometimes it's easier with 2 people. We use the side that we've cut with the straight edge because it will be nice and tidy. And then just, work your way down and then you'll end up working your way over. Try not to stick it on twice and only once. So now that you got the outside lined up, you want to work your hand up and down the rails, working your way to the inside, pushing out any air pockets and applying nice even pressure to the turf. So on the back piece, we just do a bit of a rough cut first, not quite in the groove, but just so we can see where the line is, just cutting off this excess piece here. So now's the tricky part for the section, folding it right over into the footwell. So take your time with this. The turf will slightly compress and stretch and still stick down. If you got a lot of opposing angles, you might have to make a cut through that angle so the turf can kind of separate or move in. But yeah, just take your time with this and slowly do it. Okay, so now to finish it up, this is what we call rough cuts. We do a cut first, making sure the blade doesn't contact the jet ski, and cutting off the excess here. We're trying to work our way down to where we can see a nice tidy line. The ultimate goal is to have about 10 to 20 mil between the factory turf and the aftermarket turf that we're applying now. So we run this blade down, kind of lifting it up away from the surface. We haven't stuck down this part hard when we rolled it all over. We leave the last couple inches just kind of loose so we can pull this up and kind of use the blade to make those rough cuts to get a guided line. Okay, so for the next part here, it's entirely up to you what you want to do. Joel and I actually use the blade and run it up against the glass to get a nice tidy even line. It's honestly the easiest way, but it's entirely up to you because it is scratching into the surface. However, you'll never see it because the turf is covering it, but this way you get nice and low to the ski and you kind of gauge yourself from the factory turf and you get a nice even gap down the whole rail. Again, it's entirely up to you if you want to do this or not. Then pull away your final offcut there and just rub away any excess self-adhesive, and that's that section finished for that nice line. Now going back to that rear piece that we cut earlier, we want to try wedge the blade in between the plastic fairing here, or plastic bumper, and the ski. And we try to angle it backwards as well, so you got a bit of a tapered edge, so it's not a hard edge that can catch and kind of peel it after a period of time. But if you wedge that blade in there, you should get a pretty tidy cut through that section. And I always just get a board. If you're unsure, you can just check where it's going to kind of sit. So you might be like, my board seems to sit there or something. And that's when you know how far you might need turf. So, we might go up to there on this one, but ideally your board's probably going to be sitting about there. So we'll run a line to there, and then we'll come back down and run to the top of this turf right here. So we will remove this sticker, or we can run just below it. You want to run just below it? Yeah. So now grab your second full sheet of turf and also cut this one down the middle nice and evenly with your straight edge, as you'll be using one half for one side and the other half for the other side of the ski. We run the grip going that way so we're nice and grippy when our feet are coming off, but this side here we'll run the turf down so sand's not just getting all caught up in the edges here and the water flows nicely. Rightio guys, the next part is the inside section, and to be honest this is harder than the outer rails. So first you want to make sure that you get this turf lined up nice and straight. So we've lined it up on the back here, we've removed the self-adhesive on the back. I personally usually only apply light pressure to start with. Joel here is actually using a bit more pressure. I go lightly in case I just need to quickly pull the turf away and readjust that line. Minimal kind of compression and twisting of the turf here. And yeah, you just get this bit nice and straight, but you see here he'll quickly pull it away if he needs to, but again you don't want to be doing that too much. So then go through and just apply pressure through the areas that have grooves just to get rid of any air pockets in there, and then work your ways out from those sections.
I'll run this and I'll cut that down there, and
Yeah,
I'll just leave out that middle piece.
Run it down along that line.
Yeah.
I just want to get the right
fucking positioning. And now we come through and we trim off all the excess, but keeping in mind you don't want to go too much off it because it's sitting up there. If you cut, you know, a whole bunch off, when you put it down it might be all the way there. So just cut, you might have to cut the excess like 2 or 3 times till you can kind of see the edge of your turf, of your factory turf there, so you get a nice gap. So here we might, you know, cut once or twice till we can see it.
the blade down through to this point.
Yep.
So I can cut that off.
Yep.
So I know where that ridge is to run a nice line.
Yep. Yeah. So this is the critical cut now. Again, everyone can have their own way of doing it, but Mr. Miller here has been doing this for 7 years on a weekly basis at one of our local dealers.
Yeah. Cutty boy.
So we jam the razor in his gap just because we know it's going to cut a straight, even line along here. Again, every ski is different. You kind of got to improvise along the way. And like we said, you just take your time. This gap's going to come to an end here, and then we're going to have to figure it out. But we know that there's a ridge along. This is way too zoomed. Along the back.
You know this is gonna scare the shit out of a lot of people to
Yep.
do surfing.
Surfing always scares everyone. When I say cutting into the glass, they're always like, what?
You do
And
that?
I'm like, yeah. I'm like, can try avoid it, it just never looks as nice. And I'm like, as soon as it's on, it's on. You're not really taking it off.
No.
Look at that. And that, guys, is how you get
And
a
there's a
perfect line. And the final touch is just cut off the excess up here. Pull that off. So there we go, guys. Freshly turfed up ski. All done, looking smirk. So there we have it, people. Here's a bit of a tutorial on how to turf your ski. I've been getting hit up heaps of this, but hey, there might be better ways to do it as well. This is what we just find works for us, but yeah, you might find some tips in there and get the job done. Yep.